Welcome. I'm looking forward to showing you how IXL's new NWE MAP alignments can help you drive student learning and growth. Before we begin today, I do want to introduce myself. My name is Kim Laval, and I'm a professional learning specialist with IXL. Prior to IXL, I was a classroom teacher for over 13 years. Within that time, I taught all grade levels of secondary math from 6th through 12th grade. In addition, I used IXL in my classroom along with NWEA MAP, and this resulted in my students having the highest MAP gains in the school for multiple years in a row. I hope to provide you with some strategies today so that you can see these amazing results with your students. Let's first talk a little bit about IXL. IXL is personalized learning. Personalized learning is really complex, but IXL makes it simple for teachers to implement effectively in their classrooms. IXL is built on 3 components: a continuous diagnostic, comprehensive K-12 curriculum, and actionable real-time analytics. These components are fully integrated and work together seamlessly to give teachers everything they need to differentiate instruction and help students grow. For teachers, IXL is a platform that makes differentiation more efficient and effective. We have comprehensive curriculum from pre-K to 12th grade with personalized, targeted guidance built in so that you can reach every student at the right level and help them grow. And for students, IXL drives engagement in an authentic way. We encourage students to own their learning, embrace new challenges, and build skills and confidence that last. I do want to go over some background on the NWEA MAP Growth Assessment. So the MAP Growth test is designed to measure a student's overall achievement. It is also a representation of student growth over time, which provides the teacher, students, and parents with a visual representation of student achievement. And this is over the time each student has taken the MAP assessment. It's also going to show data comparing the student's overall achievement to that of research norms for their grade level and subject. The questions are also adaptive, so similar to IXL's skills and diagnostic, and that question rigor and grade level increase and decrease based on how the student answers the questions. When a student takes the MAP test, they receive a RIT score. Let's take a deeper dive into this score to understand how it correlates with student achievement. So RIT stands for Roush Unit, which is a measurement scale developed to simplify the interpretation of test scores. MAP Growth uses the RIT scale to help you measure and compare academic growth. Specifically, the scale measures levels in academic difficulty. The RIT scale extends equally across all grades, making it possible to compare a student's score at various points throughout his or her education. The RIT score represents the level where a student is ready to learn. This is also referred to as the zone of proximal development. A student's RIT score means that the student is about 50% likely to answer questions correctly at that level. And therefore, topics at this RIT level are likely to be topics the student is ready to learn. The test finds that level by pinpointing where a student would just as likely answer questions incorrectly as correctly, the point between knowing and not knowing the answers. Now, it is important to understand there is no maximum or perfect score on a MAP Growth test. So NWEA is going to provide 2 main student reports: the student progress and student profile. The student progress report will show overall RIT score and comparison over time. As previously mentioned, MAP does show comparative data. Now, in this student progress, the blue is representative of their score since they first took the MAP Growth assessment. The orange is going to be the grade level mean RIT for that particular year, and the yellow is going to be the norm grade level RIT for that particular year. The dashed bar is going to represent the student's projected score for the next time they're scheduled to take the assessment. In the chart to the right, you can see the progression of growth over time, just to uncover more insight on that student and how they've improved since they started taking the MAP test. Student progress is also broken down by instructional areas, so you can see their relative strengths and where they may need some additional foundational instruction. So our sample student for today has an overall RIT score of a 228, and I'm going to be referencing that RIT score throughout today's presentation. Now, the student profile will show the student's RIT score broken down by the 4 instructional areas. So teachers can use the instructional areas module within the student profile to see where they need to focus their instruction for this student. This report is going to be an essential tool when using IXL's NWEA MAP alignment, as we have taken the students' RIT ranges and broken them down into the instructional areas to further personalize student learning. So now remember, our student's overall score was a 228, which is just an average of the instructional areas. Having these scores broken down allows you to target the specific skills within each instructional area. Now, once a teacher has a student's RIT score, NWEA now translates these into learning statements. NWEA is going to provide teachers with access to the learning continuum, which translates the student's overall RIT scores to learning statements so you can set student goals and tailor your instruction to meet student needs. The learning continuum has 2 views, the test and the class view. So the test view, which we're looking at now, is going to show skills and concepts for all RIT bands. In this view, we see which skills and concepts need to be reinforced, developed, and introduced based on the RIT score. So as you can see, I have filtered this down to the topic of the real and complex number system and subtopic of performing operations. So let's take a deeper dive into the 3 categories. So on the left is the reinforce. This is for learning statements in the RIT band just below where a student scored. So students likely know this, but you can reinforce these concepts. The middle column is going to be where students scored and what they should be working on now. So our sample students' overall RIT score is a 228. So according to the learning continuum, they should be working on skills within the 221 to 230 range. You will see in just a moment, with IXL's NWEA MAP alignment, we have taken these ranges and narrowed it down to even more specific learning statements and skills the student is ready to learn. Our final column is the introduction column. These are going to be skills that are just above where a student scored and potential skills to introduce when the student is ready for a challenge. Now, the class view matches students to learning statements within their RIT range, kind of creating that small group. So this view helps with finding skills to assign to those groups of students who are working within the same range. So as you can see, MAP is providing the teachers and students with the learning statements tailored to the student's overall RIT score. Then IXL is going to provide the actual formative practice and analytics for monitoring student achievement on those skills. IXL's MAP alignment is a simple document that makes it easy for teachers, students, and parents to navigate and understand. It has taken the guesswork out of how to use a student's RIT score and provided teachers and students with just a simple way to support individual student growth. Now, IXL has taken the learning continuum and broken it down into even smaller RIT score ranges. This is to ensure students are working on the exact right skills for them right now. IXL is the perfect tool to support you in seeing student growth. Let's dive into IXL's MAP alignment and how you can use it to support student growth. So I am going to go ahead and navigate to our main site here to show you how easy it is to locate. So I'm going to be going into this Inspiration tab here. So now everybody has access to the Inspiration tab when they're logged out, and teachers have the unique access to the Inspiration tab when they are logged in. So if I click on here to Inspiration, I'm going to go to the subtopic of IXL alignments. When I click on that, I simply go to the subtopic now of test preparation alignments. And now you'll see that we have our NWEA MAP Growth math alignments for K through 2, 2 through 5, and 6+. So due to our sample student being a middle school student, we are going to focus in on the 6 and plus alignment for today. So I'm going to go ahead and click in and talk a little bit about the alignment. So remember, our student had an overall RIT score of a 228. And according to the learning continuum, Any student working within the range of a 221 to 230 should be working on the same skills. With IXL's alignment, we have broken it down, the ranges, to smaller intervals to target specific skills the student should be working on. Now, if we take a deeper look into the alignment, notice also it's broken down by instructional areas. This student could work in each instructional area on the 228 level, but may not be successful on those particular skills. So what we recommend is using the RIT scores by instructional areas to ensure students are working on the skills they're ready for instruction on today. Now, for example, our student scored a 223 in the area of the real and complex number system. If we had him working on skills in his overall level of a 228, he'd be working well above the skills he's ready for. So having the RIT scores broken down by instructional areas ensures the student is working on the appropriate skills. So now, if you have a student who is struggling with a skill within their current RIT range, or if their skill is or if their score is on the border, you can encourage them to work on the skills in the RIT range prior to support them in the foundational knowledge so that they can move forward. In addition, I encourage you to challenge students when they complete skills within their range to work on skills in the next range within the alignment. So now, as you can see, our 6 and plus alignment starts at a RIT score of a 220. So if you do have students that are working on a score below a 220, I recommend that you simply use the 2 to 5 alignment to find the skills that that student is ready for instruction on. So let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into the operations and algebraic thinking for RIT scores of a 230 plus. So the alignment is actually set up to take students directly to each of the skills. So with just one simple click from the alignment, your students can be working on the skills that are just right for them. So as you can see, I clicked on the 230 and it brought me directly to all of the skills that IXL has determined my student is ready for instruction on based on their RIT score. So if I jump right here into graphing a line using slope, I can click in and it's going to prompt me to log in as a student. So once I log in, now I'm into the skill and I can start working. So let's talk about IXL skills for just a moment. Our skills are designed to be truly adaptive. So at every step of the way, students are going to be supported, challenged, and motivated at the right level. And this special blend is what inspires every student to keep working to their full potential. So I do want to point out something here. So we have a new Learn by Example. So our Learn by Example questions and solutions give students a chance to receive a guided walkthrough before they even begin working on a new skill. IXL is actually going to provide students with a reminder of key ideas and step-by-step instruction on how to successfully answer an example question. So with this detailed support at hand, students can feel more confident when approaching a new skill on IXL within their RIT range. Now let's go ahead and start answering some questions. Notice when I get a question correct, I get that immediate feedback. It's actually counting how many questions I've asked in this or answered in this particular skill, how much time I've spent, and I'm getting points towards my SMART score. Again, a correct answer gets the positive feedback. Now, what happens if I come across an incorrect answer? So IXL is actually going to stop the student. And very similar to that new example question, we're going to give an explanation that's specific to this particular question. So we're going to show them what the correct answer is and also show them what they answered so that they can compare the two. Not only that, we're going to give them those key ideas and step-by-step on how to solve this particular question. So this is actually going to provide students with support as they work through the recommended skills within the RIT score. So if you remember, these are going to be skills that the student will correctly answer 50% of the time. So this built-in guidance within our skills, students are going to be supported at just the right level. Now that you've seen how valuable our map alignment is and how our skills support the students with built-in guidance, let's discuss some strategies for implementing this resource into your daily lessons to support you in seeing student growth. So students can begin working on the skills within their RIT range in a few different ways. You can either communicate their RIT scores by instructional areas and then direct them to IXL's map alignment to find those skills. Or you can simply use IXL's map alignment to assign skills to individuals or groups of students. Now let's talk about a few ways to do that in your classroom. You could consider having your students create a simple goal setting sheet and action plan that is personalized to them. I personally had my students create learning goals using their overall RIT score and the learning continuum. And then I had them go into IXL to search for those comparable skills. Now, students can simply use IXL's map alignment as a guide to which skills they should be working on. All you'll need to do is communicate these scores to students during maybe individual conferences, or even create a printout for each student of their scores broken down by each area. Students' action plans can maybe be broken down into just 2 to 3 skills per week they can be working on in addition to their daily learning objectives in class. Now, students could be working on these personalized goal setting sheets, maybe for bell work or for those early finishers who are always looking for something to do additionally. You could also assign these as homework, or even use these during an enrichment or an intervention class. Now, the alignment can also be a valuable tool for small group instruction and even creating leveled groupings within the classroom. This is so students can support one another as they're working through the same skills. You could also consider doing a whole class engagement like a MAP Skills Monday, where the last 15 to 20 minutes of class, all students are working on their own skills within their RIT range. Now, it is important to remember to set appropriate SMART score goals for your students. So if you remember, our SMART score does range from a 0 to 100, but it is not a percentage. On IXL, a SMART score of 80 is considered proficient, 90 is excellence, and 100 indicates mastery. So you could think of mastery as an A+. Knowing not all students are A+ students, I'd consider setting SMART score goals of proficiency or a SMART score of 80 on the skills students are working on within their RIT range. As we've seen, IXL's map alignment and how highly targeted skills make it easy to support students in their instructional growth. So let's take a look at some strategies on taking instructional action and monitoring student progress with IXL's analytics. Once your students begin working on the IXL skills aligned to their RIT scores, you can use IXL analytics to monitor their progress. So let's take a look at a couple of reports and the insights they provide you on students' work. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our main site and log in here as a teacher. It's going to take me directly to analytics. So if I wanted to monitor my students' progress towards their personalized action plans, I went straight to the students' quick view report. Because the students' quick view report is going to give me a great overhead view of students' work on IXL. So in addition to being able to see how and where your students are spending their time, you can also scan your entire roster to find students whose practice you may be wondering about or want to learn more about and uncover insights on their progress with recommended MAP growth skills. So as you can see here, you have different filterizations. You can filter by class, subject, skill grade, or even date range. So let's jump into the date range and look at all of the different ways. Now, it is automatically going to default to the last 30 days, but you have the ability to look at today, this week, or even a custom. So if we're looking at our MAP Skills Monday and you just want to look at what your students did this past Monday, you can simply set a custom filterization to look at just that day. So now I'm going to keep it in the last 30 days and just show you an overhead view. So it's going to tell me how many questions my students have answered, how much time they've spent practicing, and how many skills they've made progress in. Now, this is my favorite particular graph here because now it's showing me practice by day at home and at school. So now if I hover over, I can see the students who have been answering the most questions at home or at school. So if I look here and I see that Dorian has answered quite a few questions, I might want to take a deeper dive into what Dorian's been up to. So what I can do is I can simply search for his name up here, or I can scroll down so that I can scan the entire roster of my students. Now, as I see here, I see Dorian right off the bat here, and I see the last 5 questions, 5 skills that he's been working on. And as I hover over, I get even more information, like his current SMART score, when the last time he practiced was, and if he's in a trouble spot. So I want you to remember trouble spots for a second, because we're going to get to those in just a moment. But if I want a deeper dive into Dorian and I want to look at his practice patterns, I can simply click on his name, and that takes me to the student details report. Now, the student details report has the same customization features up here, just as the student's quick view did. So the student details report is going to be that deep dive into an individual student's practice patterns and performance. So this is going to be for students that you would like to spend a little extra time with. It's just a great starting point for understanding what they've been working on lately and how they've been progressing. So this report can be of great value when goal setting for NWEA MAP, based on their performance on the skills within their RIT range. So as I scroll down here, you can see now I can look at all of the different practice sessions my student was working on. Not only can I look at the practice sessions, but within each practice session, I can see the date and time that student was working, how many minutes they were active. From here, I can see the skill, name, and code, how many questions they answered, and of those questions answered, how many they missed. And then it tells me the progress of their SMART score. So not only if that is enough information, I can also see a preview of the questions that my students answered. So now I can actually get a good idea of what types of questions my student was answering. So now I know different strategies on how I can help them. Now, if I'm looking for other practice sessions, I can simply just look at any other practice session here by simply clicking the plus. So this is really helping me see exactly what my student was working on and how I can help them. So if you remember, I mentioned the trouble spots earlier. So I do want to transition to one of my favorite reports in IXL, which is the trouble spots report. So the trouble spots report is going to be an essential tool for addressing student needs efficiently. It helps you allocate your time to help the greatest number of students possible. So if you remember, the skills within a student's RIT score will have questions students will likely answer correctly 50% of the time. So we can expect that some students may struggle while working on these skills. So the trouble spots report is going to show teachers what students are stuck on. And in IXL, we call those trouble spots. So being stuck means a student has answered 3 or more questions wrong in a particular step and hasn't been able to get past it. So as you see up here, it has the same filterizations. You also have the ability to turn your standards on and off, but you can do date range, class, any different filterization you're looking for. But more importantly, what the trouble spots is going to do is it's going to group my students together who are struggling on a specific skill. So let's look at this one, for example. There are 12 students who are struggling on this particular skill. And not only am I seeing the students down here, their names, but I'm also going to see their current SMART score and maybe how many questions they've missed from this item type, which I can see if they've been in this trouble spot for a while, or if this might be a new trouble spot for those particular students. It's also going to provide me with this carousel of questions. And these are going to be questions that these students have received and missed. So this is great for that reteaching. So I always took the trouble spots report and put it into my weekly and sometimes daily lessons. It was a report that I always peeked in to see how my students were doing on a particular skill. So what I would do is at the end of class, or maybe even at the beginning of class, you could think of Map Skills Monday. On Mondays, the last 10 to 15 minutes of class, when I had some students just working on their map skills, I actually was able to now take a small group of students, for example, these 12 students, bring them up to the front and really help them through this particular trouble spot. So with 12 students, I could take out my manipulatives and I could really dive deeper into this particular skill so that I could help my students really understand what's going on and maybe some misconceptions they had. Now, with this trouble spot report, notice as I continue to scroll, the numbers get smaller. So if you're looking for a more smaller group of students to help, you can simply scroll down and see that the numbers here are going to get smaller and the groups are going to get smaller. But you're still provided the same information with the student names and missed questions from this item type that's going to provide you with strategies on how to support your students. So this report is just perfect for deciding what to go over with the whole class, maybe what's better for smaller groups, or even what you want to work with individual students on. So as you can see, the Trouble Spots report really illuminates exactly where your students are getting stuck and also provides strategies on how you can help them. So IXL really is the most valuable tool in supporting you and seeing your students' learning growth. Our new alignments make it simple for teachers to support students at their current level and help them grow. And IXL's highly targeted skills and built-in guidance ensure students are supported, challenged, and motivated at every step of the way. If you want some more in-depth training on IXL, I encourage you to visit the PD section on the Inspiration tab or simply email pd@ixl.com. Thank you so much for listening in,